Hello, everyone. Welcome to Super Subs podcast, episode 3. I'm your host, Narvin Amatia, and co-host Harish Amatia. Um, so before we get started, we have a pretty unique game that we'll be playing today. But before we dive into that, we'll talk about our super subs for the week. Um, so my super sub for the week was Luis Sinistera for Bournemouth. Um, Everton, they were winning the game 2-0, dominating up until probably the 80th minute. And then Bournemouth, epic comeback, and Sinistera, he had a goal and an assist. Well, he had the game winning goal, and he also had an assist. So helped Bournemouth get that 3-2 win. Epic game.
Yeah, that was one of the craziest finishes to a game I've ever seen. I don't remember another one like that
Yeah, it was
in a while.
because it was so one-sided most of the game with Everton just dominating, and then it was just complete shambles at the end, how they just got torn apart.
Yeah, Bournemouth looked asleep for 70% of the game.
Yeah, very unlike them. That was quite surprising. I think it was once that tussle between Keane and Semenyo happened, that's when they kind of woke up out of nowhere.
Yeah, shout out to Semenyo. He's been on fire
Yeah,
the
he's been
past
carrying the load for what Solanke was kind of providing them last year.
yeah.
So
So
who's your super sub, Harish?
yeah, my super sub this week, again, there were a lot of players to choose from, and I think we probably should give some honorable mentions afterwards, but my super sub of the weekend was Rafael Leao. Came on for Milan. And I'm not exactly sure why he was on the bench, but he came on with Tammy Abraham from Milan, and they were able to score a game-tying goal. Um, and it was a nice link-up play. Tammy playing or Rafael Leao playing it to Tammy, and kind of Tammy playing it right back to Leao and him finishing. It was a nice finish. So it was cool to see both the subs come on and make an instant impact. I think within 5 minutes they were able to score that goal.
Yeah, and another player was that was involved in that link up play was Teo Hernandez, who was also subbed in the same time. And it was all, yeah, like you said, under 5 minutes. That all three of them got subbed. They instantly got involved and got the game time goal.
I think similar to week one of when we talked about the Aston Villa team goal with all three super subs
Yeah, that was a
linking up.
very nice link up play.
Yeah, I think do you have any honorable mentions or shout outs you wanted to make this week?
Um, no, I think that Bournemouth game was just it was probably a game of the season so far. So that one just definitely the one that highlighted it for me.
Yeah, I think a few shout outs I just wanted to make was Angel Correa for Atletico. I think he came on with like 2 minutes left, scored the winner. Pretty cool to see Diego Simeone kind of push for that win because he's usually historically been so kind of defensive and conservative, but it's cool to see him go for it. Uh, and then the game we watched together, Real Madrid versus Betis, we watched that together and talking about how Madrid just wasn't looking really good, but my super sub from that game that made an impact was Brahim Diaz. Once he came on, I felt like there was a lot of energy coming from that right side of the field, and that's kind of how the game switched. He was able to link up with Rodrigo, and Rodrigo passed it to Valverde, who, brilliant assist. That was crazy to
Yeah, that
Mbappe.
was magical.
Yeah, that
I
was
don't even know
insane.
how he saw that run.
No. Um, so I think Brahim Diaz, although he didn't score or assist, I think this is a prime example to our listeners where a super sub doesn't necessarily have to be on the score sheet, but can change the game in other ways and make that impact. And I think Brahim Diaz was that player.
Yeah, he definitely changed the style that they were playing. I feel like Madrid they're kind of just trying to force to get Mbappe his first goal. So I think that's why they just don't look that great. They're trying to force it to Mbappe, but yeah, I agree. Once Brahim Diaz came, it definitely was a change in the dynamic. So today we'll be doing a draft, and doing a draft for the best, who we think will be the best transfers for the year. Um, and the transfers will include players that have been transferred or loaned. Um, so just as a quick explanation, transfer is basically when a player permanently gets a move to another club, whereas a loan is typically they do a season long loan where a club will get another player from a club for a season, and will pay some of their wages and stuff. But then that player will return to their parent club. And then there's some stipulations with loans. So if a buying club gets a player, if the buying club plays the parent club of the player, then the player can't play. Just I get it's kind of goofy, but it's just a way to kind of avoid conflict. Um, so I'll let Harish kind of explain how we'll be running through this draft.
Yeah, so we're excited to do this. We kind of play this type of game, whether it's we haven't really done transfers before, but we've tried to create like our best starting 11 using Premier League players, for example. And this is something that Narvin and I kind of play on our own. And so we thought this would be a cool thing to bring onto the podcast. And, you know, listeners here can definitely play along with us. And so the rules of this game, what we will do is each we have a randomizer here on the side with five different slots. One is the Premier League, one is La Liga, one is Serie A, Bundesliga, and then we have the fifth slot, which is we labeled as special. And so we'll spin this randomizer 11 different times, and each round we'll select a player. So Narv, for example, will go first round one. I'll go second. Round two, we'll spin it again. I'll go first. Narv will go second. And we each will select a player and try to build the best starting 11. And again, as Narvin mentioned, we can only choose players who have been loaned out or um, are on a permanent transfer. Um, and we cannot select players that have already been selected. And I think that's the only rules we have. And again, the special slot, that fifth slot is you can choose any player from any league. It doesn't have to be Premier League, La Liga, Serie A, or Bundesliga. Um, so it can be any. And then we'll each pick a formation and we have to kind of stick to that formation. You can move players around as the draft goes, but let's just say we have to stick to that formation. Um, so again, listeners, you guys can play along with us. Narv, did I miss any rules to this game?
No, I guess also just one thing to kind of clear up for any listeners that could have question is if a player like last season went on loan and then came back to their parent club, like that doesn't count. It's loan for this new season. Um, and then obviously listeners, if you play along with us, unfortunately you will have like the third pick each time.
Yeah.
It'll be quite impressive to see your team.
Yeah, and I think at the end, we'd love to get people listening to vote. Uh, who do you think has the better squad between Narva and I? We'll discuss at the end. We'll go through a straight draft first, and then also feel free to submit your team as well. We'd love to see what you guys came up with.
Yep.
All right.
So how do we decide who goes first? You wanna rock, paper, scissors, or
Yeah, so for those who can't see, we're about to play rock, paper, scissors to see who gets the first pick, and then we'll spin the wheel.
all right, rock, paper,
Rock.
rock, paper, scissors, shoot. Rock, paper, scissors, shoot. Well, rock, paper, scissors, shoot. Okay.
Okay. Narv won.
I won.
Just for those listening, Narv and I did tie twice, first two rounds. But so Narvin beat me, so I'll go ahead and spin the wheel.
A first pick.
And first pick is the Premier League.
Ooh, a lot of options. All right, so for the Premier League, I will go ahead and
And real quick before picking, what formation are you gonna go with?
I will go with a 4-3-3.
Okay.
And for listeners, also these formations, it starts from your back line to the front. For those who are kind of new to soccer, so 4-3-3 is basically four defenders, three midfielders, and then three up top,
Yep,
striker,
and
left wing, right
we
wing,
will have goalkeepers.
and
One
yeah.
goalkeeper.
So my first pick for Premier League, I will go with Amadou Onana.
Ah, okay. So you picked Onana.
And he
There's
transferred
a
from
lot.
Everton to Aston Villa.
Okay, so I'm going with a 4-3-3 as well. As the rounds evolve, I'll see if I want to go with like two holding mids or two attacking,
You can move it around. Yeah.
move it around there, but I'll go with a 4-3-3 as well. And my first pick will be uh, transferred from Bayern to Manchester United. I will select Mazraoui.
Ooh, good pick.
All right. I'll spin the wheel again. This time it will be my first pick. Okay, my pick again. We've rolled on Premier League, and just for those listening, we did put the probability at 20% for each slot. So just happened to get Premier League again. So my turn. I will go. And hopefully this will give those listening a second to think about what they want to select for the first round. Hopefully you've made that decision. I'm gonna go with Wan Bissaka here.
Oh, nice.
And so he was a transfer from Manchester United to West Ham.
All right. I will go with a left back in Ian Matson from Chelsea to Villa. Back to back Villa picks for me. He
All right,
hasn't
and
been able to get the start yet, but I think he'll ease it. I think Unai Emery's kind of just easing his way into the squad right now.
and then for those listening, it's your turn. And then I'll go ahead and spin the wheel, and Narvin will get the first pick for round three. All right, we've got Syria A, Narv.
Ooh, Syria. Ah, okay. Ah, this one has a lot of options. Let me go with. Let me go with the center mid. No, I already got a center mid. Um, man, this is a tricky one. Let me go with the center back and Pavlovich transfer from Salzburg to Milan.
Okay, that's a solid pick. I'm going to go with, and I'm just trying to be strategic here. In terms, so I've got my wing backs down. The attackers here look pretty attractive, but there's a lot of options. So do I want to go for one now? Okay, I think I'm going to go. I'm going to go with McTominay here.
Oh, nice.
Okay, be my midfield here.
Two former United picks for you.
All right. And then for those listening, y'all can go ahead and get a pick in while I spin the wheel. And it has landed on Bundesliga. All right.
It's your turn, right?
Yep, my turn first here. Hmm. Okay, here I'm going to go. Yeah, I think I'm going to go with a center back here, transfer from Stuttgart to Dortmund. Uh, Waldemar Anton.
Okay.
So I'll go with him.
Let's see. Let me go with from oh man. I got stuck
Yeah,
between two.
take your time.
I will go for Michael Olise from Palace to Bayern Munich.
Ah, that's a good pick.
He was calling my name.
All right. So this is round four, and those listening, it would be your turn to pick. And just to recap so far, my team, I have my wingbacks, Mazarawi out left, my right back, Wan-Bissaka, center back, um, Waldemar, Anton, and then in the midfield, I have McTominay. And Narv so far has Onana in his midfield, uh, and then he has Ian Matson in the back, um, with Pavlovic center back, and then Elise up top to the right.
Yep.
All right. And then I'll go ahead and spin for round five. And this one, Narv, you'll be picking first. We've landed on La Liga.
Give me Killy Killy. I'll take Mbappe.
All right. Goodness.
Killy Killy. PSG to Real Madrid on a free transfer.
Man. All right. So I think for this one, I've been on the Manchester train here. I don't know if you think I should continue with that train and, maybe go with a center back here to Villarreal,
Ooh,
Kumbuala.
the youngster.
No, I'm not picking him. Um, I'll go with another center back here, Lenormand, for
Ah,
he
good pick.
transfer from Real Sociedad to Atletico. I think he'll pair nice with Anton. I'm a big fan of his game. Listeners, it's your turn here again on La Liga, and then I'll be picking first here in the next round. All right, we've landed on La Liga again. So round six, my back lines looked pretty good. Mbappe that's a good one. Who am I thinking I could get? Julian Alvarez looks kind of attractive here in round six, but
You got your former Chelsea boy up in Atletico.
Gallagher. Yeah, it's just, I have McTominay, so
You'll have some workhorses there if you
I'll
get
have some more
Gallagher.
courses. So I think I'll go ahead and select Danny Olmo here, transfer from Leipzig to Barcelona. And, I'll select him. I'm not sure exactly where I'll put him on the team. I think it would depend on later rounds who I get. So I'll get him though.
He
And
was a bit of
Narf?
an underrated player in that Euros for
Yeah, I think he
Spain.
was one of the better players for Spain.
Um,
I know you want Kumbuala. Get him.
oh, and then just to make sure, the formation that we chose is locked in, right?
Correct. Yep.
Okay. So let me get my other outside back. And this player from Man City to Real Sociedad, go for Sergio Gomez.
All right. So round seven, we'll spin the wheel here. And Narv, you'll have the first pick here.
Okay.
All right. And you've got a special.
Special. With the special, I will go to.
And just to clarify for listeners, special means you can select any transfers across any league.
Yep. Oh, no. I already have a right winger. Let me go for another center mid. I will go for João Neves from Benfica to PSG.
Ooh, nice pick. Solid youngster there. Okay.
I got two tenacious midfielders.
Okay, so any league we want. Um, I think here I have to go with, yeah, I have to. I have to go with Osimhen up top. And for Osimhen, he's been transferred from Napoli to Galatasaray, I think September 2nd, 3rd
Oh, so
yesterday
just
or
2 days
day,
ago.
yeah, 2 days ago. So
Okay,
I'll
I
go with,
thought I was still in the mindset that he was going to Saudi Arabia. I didn't even know that deal happened.
yep. So
Do
I'll
you know
go
how
with,
much the fee was?
I forget.
Was it a ridiculous amount?
No, it actually wasn't. And I think he's fired his agent now.
Oh, geez.
Yeah, it was kind of we'll probably dig into it, but
It's kind of a
uh,
disappointing move.
yeah. Um, and how much was the fee? I Yeah, I have to look into that. I forget, but it wasn't anything crazy.
Wow.
So he's on Galatasaray on loan, so I'll go with him up top.
It's a good pick.
So now I'll go with, let's see, I'll spin the wheel here. Those listening, again, you can choose any transfer that's happened across any league. So round eight. So it's landed on Bundesliga. Okay, so this is my first pick here. Man, Elise was a great pick, Narv. Completely forgot about him. Let's see. Hmm. There's a couple players I'm thinking about here. I think I'll go with João Palhinha here,
Good pick.
center mid.
So you got
Um,
two of your three midfielders.
yeah, I have McTominay and Palhinha. And just for those listening, I don't think we mentioned in the beginning, but we will have five uh, subs, aka hopefully some super subs. So, you know, we'll have 11 rounds and then five additional for subs. But I think it's fair that we can, even if we drafted someone here in let's say round 2 or 3, and we drafted someone else in round 14, we can put the person we drafted round 3 like in our bench.
And then
Um,
for your Danny Olmo pick, are you moving him like out to the wing, or is he going to be part of your center mid?
yeah, for now, I think I'll see what happens in the next couple rounds here, but
Hmm.
he'll
Okay.
probably be in my wing
Okay.
attacking. All
There's
right,
like
so Narf's up.
two players I want to pick from. So since I got two tenacious midfielders, I gotta go for one that will bring out more of the creativity in there. So I will go with,
It's all about balance.
yeah, gotta balance the team out. Former Brighton player, now at Dortmund, Pascal Gross.
Nice. Yeah, that was the other player I was thinking about. Okay, that's a great pick. He's been having an incredible year already. Big fan.
I think a Bundesliga might be
All
a
right.
breeze for him for his quality.
Oh yeah. All right, so listeners, you have the pick. While you decide on who you're picking, I will be spinning the wheel. And just again for a reminder on who Narv and I have selected so far, a rundown of my team. I have Mazarawi, Wan-Bissaka, McTominay, um, Anton, Lenormand, Danny Olmo, Osimhen, and João Paulinho. Narv, he has Onana, Ian Matson, Pavlovic, Olise, Mbappe, Sergio Gomez, João Neves, and Pascal Gross. All right, so now it's landed on Premier League, and Narv, it's your pick first here.
All right, for Premier League, let me go ahead and complete my back line. Go with a player that will be at United for the foreseeable future, hopefully the next 10 years plus. Give me Lenny Euro from Lille to Man United.
All right, and before you pick this, just remember this is for transfers this year. You're not necessarily building for the future. Just
That
a
is true.
reminder. If you want to go with him, I'm not trying to change your mind. I definitely don't want him, so you can take him.
Ah, he he hasn't even gotten a game yet though for us. Been in the hospital, unfortunately. Yeah, let me not, since it's based on current, let me change the pick. Um, Let me go ahead and get a goalkeeper. Um, I'll get the Georgian goalkeeper from Valencia to Liverpool, and then he's on loan right now back to Valencia, but I'll get Mamardashvili.
Okay, solid pick. Yeah, that's a great pick, Narf. Right.
Sorry, Lenny Euro. You would have been on the squad if you weren't injured for sure.
Oh, delusional Manchester fans. Delusional Manchester fans. Prime example, 101. Everyone listening. All right, my pick here, I'm going to go. There's a bundle of them out here, so it's just a matter of who I want out on my left flank. My left mid, I want. Man, there's so many options. I think I'm gonna go with, yeah, let me go with João Felix here. My boy from Atletico to Chelsea. I'm going with João Felix.
I thought you were about to say started with the J. I was like, he's not about to say Jadon Sancho, is he?
I'm excited to see how Sancho turns out at Chelsea, though. I'm excited. I'm a big fan of all our attacking options. Now that Sterling's gone, I can say that. I'm a fan of all. It's unfortunate we have so many options in a sense that there's so many to choose from. And so I think Mudrik's going to be the one that's kind of left out, unfortunately, and I'm a big fan of his. I think he's got a lot of potential. So
I think Sterling is a very nice pickup for Arsenal, working with
yeah, I think that's a
Arteta
great
from
addition
when he
for
was a
Arsenal.
City assistant,
But
knows his game a bit, provides competition for Saka now.
yeah, I think I'm just not a fan of his game. But all right, so listeners, it's your choice, and I've spun the wheel. It's my pick first here. It's landed on La Liga. All right, so this is round 10.
Do we have to pick for our starting lineups, or can we go ahead and pick for our bench
Yeah,
as well? Okay,
we can pick for our bench, and if we pick someone last round, round 15, we can have them in our starting lineup
got it. Okay,
instead.
okay.
Uh, but I think here, oh man, it's a tough one. I have Osimhen already, and he'll be my kind of striker up there. My midfield's already kind of built out with McTominay, Palinha. I'll probably put João Felix up top there, I'm thinking. As my third center mid, because he can play that 10. I'll put Daniel Olmo out wide. Yeah, I think here I'll go with Sorloth from Atletico. Sorloth came from Villarreal, so select him over Alvarez. So I have a backup in my bench. And now it's Narv's pick.
I think I will go for a backup left back and get a player who played for Osasuna last year on loan, but officially he was sold from Villarreal to Mallorca in Johan Mojica.
It's an interesting pick.
This man, he's got like unlimited stamina
Yeah. I don't know though. I think there's some better quality out there in some other leagues though.
in
That
terms of
might have
left
been,
back.
yeah, that might have been a reach. I
Yeah.
wonder.
There's some
But
other more attacking options on the other leagues that I was hoping for.
oh, okay, I see. All right. So listeners, your turn to pick from La Liga. Meantime, we're spinning, and it will be Narv's pick first here. And we've landed on the Premier League again.
Again. Okay. This one I might go for. Should I just get another goalkeeper on the bench to prevent you from?
Oh gosh.
No.
There are some goalkeepers left in each league that I can find a quality one.
Yeah, let me not waste a bench on another goalie. Um, let me get Yakuba Minte from Newcastle to
Ah,
Brighton.
that's a good pick. Darn. Yeah, that was about to be my pick.
Read your mind.
All right.
This kid's been
Darn.
electric.
Oh yeah. Do I go with the veteran Jordan Ayew? I do need a winger. I mean, trying to think in some other leagues who there are.
There
We
is
haven't really
another.
had Serie A, have we?
Uh,
There is one winger I'm thinking about.
does he
Um,
play for our rivals, the other side of Manchester?
no.
Okay.
The only again, so these are transfers for this season, who we think will be good, not necessarily in the future. So that's why I'm a little hesitant with this pick because I don't know if he'll be a consistent starter or not. I don't think he will. But he'll be in the rotation for sure. Man, because I do need a winger.
Oh, I know who you're thinking of.
All right.
Italian.
Yo,
It's a good pick, honestly.
yeah, I think I'm gonna go with Chiesa here. Yeah. So Chiesa came from Juventus to Liverpool. I mean, Liverpool got a steal for what, 12, 13
Absolute
million
steal.
dollars here.
Yeah.
I mean, shocker that other teams were not going for him hard here. So I've gone for Chiesa. So that rounds out our 11 here. I still need to get a goalkeeper. Narvin has his. And so, listeners, it's your turn to pick here. And then we'll go into round 12. Spin the wheel. All right. We've landed on La Liga here.
Oh, geez. So I still need starting wise, I still need a center back and a left wing. Um,
All right. For this one, it's my pick first.
oh, it's your pick first?
Yep.
That's right. Yeah.
Uh, So La Liga. All right. Let me just organize my brain here. So I have Mazarawi. I have Juan Bissaka. I've got my wingbacks. I've got Scott McTominay, and I've got João Paulinho in the middle. I'll see how I want to play them. My center backs, I've got Lenormand. Um, who's my other center back? Oh yeah, from Dortmund, Waldemar Anton. So I've got him. So I've got my back line, my midfield. I've got my engine, McTominay and João Paulinho. Uh, they could play the pivot. And then my attacking options, I've got Osimhen and I've got Sorloth on the bench. I've got Chiesa. I'll play him outright. And then, so João Felix, I'll, I think I'll be playing him at the. So he's flexible. I think either out wide or at the 10. And then I've got Danny Olmo. Again, he's probably flexible.
You need another engine for your midfield?
I
Your
could
boy from Chelsea is calling you.
Gallagher. Yeah. Um,
You need another midfield option. You got hopefully the remontada of James Rodriguez.
I'll go with, let me go with a defender. You still need a center back, right?
Yes.
Yep. So I'll go ahead and get Loney from Barca to Atletico. I'll get Lonley here.
Oh, good pick.
All right. Sorry, guys, that took a while for me. I just got to play a little strategic.
Yeah, it's a lot of thinking. It was smart that you went after João Felix because you can kind of move him around if
Hmm.
needed. I think that's what I'm going to do also is get a kind of a flexible player here, and I'll go for Julian Alvarez from City to Atletico. I'll keep him as a bench for right now.
Okay. All right. So, listeners, it's your turn to select. In the meantime, I will spin the wheel. On It's spun on Syria. Ah,
Syria. Ah, okay.
okay. Yeah, I think I have to kind of go with a keeper here.
Oh, is it my
Um,
pick on this one first?
yeah.
Okay.
So let me go with the keeper here. There's a lot of options from Syria. So Pepe Reina, nah.
Wait, hang on. I think it's
So
my
I'm
pick.
stuck between Roy Patricio for Atalanta. Oh, shoot, it is. I'm sorry.
Okay. So I'm stuck between Pepe Reina from No, I'm kidding. I already got a goalkeeper. Let me get ooh, there's some good midfield options here. Let me get someone who can play that defensive or center mid role. Let me get Yusuf Fofana from Monaco
Hmm,
to AC Milan. He'll be on my bench.
it's a great pick. Yeah, I think I'll probably go with Juventus keeper. He's on loan from Monza. Mikel Di Gregorio. He's had a couple really good games so far, so I'll go with him.
Good pick.
So I've got my goalkeeper. And for listeners, it's your pick, uh, round 14 from Syria A. While you decide, I'll be spinning the wheel. So we've got two picks left. Nice. The next one is a special pick. So from any league. So I think
Ah,
now, the strategy is kind of to see what players you have and try to decide, you know, what where you could sharpen up either in the starting lineup or a good super sub.
which league are you gonna go to?
Hmm. I've got McTominay and Gal. Wait, did I pick Gallagher? No, I did not.
No, you didn't.
I picked Lonley. Yep. Okay, never mind. I'm glad I did not get Gallagher, just because him and McTominay, I can't have both playing. Just I need some balance. Uh, I have two center backs and one on the bench. So maybe let me try to think of potentially a winger that can come in. There's a couple good options from the Serie A for wingers. You know who's looked good this year? I don't think either of us will end up picking him, but Odebear, I'm a big fan of his.
Oh,
He's
for
looked good for.
Tottenham?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he has looked good. He's still quite young, isn't he? It's only like I think he's still 19.
Yeah, I think he's still under 20. Okay, I think here I'll go ahead and pick. He's been playing very well so far for Napoli from Benfica. I'll go with David Neres here.
Mm. Yeah, that's a good pick.
All right, Narv.
So I still in my starting lineup need a center back and a left wing. Let's see.
Oh, David Neres could have been a good pick for you.
I already have two on the right wing, but yeah, he would have been a good pick.
Who's your
Um,
other two right wingers?
I have Elise starting and then Mente off the bench.
Oh, you do have two. Yeah.
Um, there's two left wingers from Bundesliga that I'm trying to decide between. Let me go for Antonio Nusa from Club Brugge to Leipzig.
Yusa, okay.
So I just need a center back to complete the squad.
All right. And for listeners, you can choose any transfer from any league. And I will spin the wheel for our last pick here.
Please,
Narv, you get.
anything put Syria up, please.
All right, last pick is from BPL.
Nice. Okay. Center back. Let me go for. I think this player has gone under the radar, but his performances have been quite exceptional, I think, especially for it being his first time in the Premier League. Let me go for Jacob Greaves from Hull City to Ipswich.
Ooh, interesting pick here.
I think he's been like amazing so far. He looks like a Premier League quality player. What remaining position do you have left?
I have someone on all areas of the field. Um, I think maybe a wing back would be nice to have as a backup option,
Mhm.
potentially. Um, or maybe another. Man, this one's hard. I go for a wing back. I have two strikers. I have Chiesa on the right. Uh, I have Neres on the left. I have João Felix down the middle, along with Olmo. I have McTominay and Paulinho in the middle. They'll play the pivot. I'm gonna go with transfer from Wolves to Chelsea, Pedro Neto here.
It's an attack force right there.
Yeah. All right. And then we get one more pick here. Okay. And for those listening, you have to select from the Premier League, third pick, and then we have one more round. And it's landed on special. So this one you can pick a transfer from any league. Doesn't have to be the leagues we've been talking about. It can be any league. Yeah, so here I'll probably go with. So I get to pick first, and I'll pick Enlinho here.
Let's see, for me, I think I'll go with another right winger. I think Mente he can come off and play on the left if need be.
Ooh,
Oh, I'll just have
man,
everything come
your bench is gonna be ton of just right
one-sided.
midfielders.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Might need a left wing.
and those listening, once you get to these last rounds here, it's just try to think of who you think can come on to your team and be a super sub and make an impact.
I'll go for Martin Terrier from Rennes to Leverkusen.
Nice. Good pick.
And I'll probably put him as my starting left wing and then have Antonio Nusa off the bench.
So we finished the draft portion. So now we'll think of, how we want to start our 11, list those out, and then we'll run through our bench players, and
Mhm.
then we'll kind of talk about who we think has the better team and why.
All right. All right. When you read out your starting lineup, you better sell your player, sell your team right here.
All right, so I'll need a second to think about where I want to line up these players, and who will be starting.
You want to draft managers?
I'll be the manager of my own team. All right, give me one sec. You've already thought of your league or your starting lineup?
Yeah, I think my starting uh I have my starting 11 in my head.
Oh, wow. All right, one sec. Sorry. Alrighty, Narv, do you want to read out and bench first?
You want me to read out my bench or full 11 first.
Yeah, full 11 and then the bench.
Okay. So, goalkeeper, I got a giant goalie here who's future Allison replacement in Mama Deshvilla or Mama Deshvili. And then right back, former City player, so definitely got quality there. Sergio Gomez. And then my center back pairing, I have Jacob Greaves at Ipswich, paired with Pavlovic at AC Milan. And then left back, I got flying down the wing, crossing balls in, Ian Matson at Villa. And then center mids, I will have João Neves as my defensive midfielder. And then I'll have Amadou Onana at Aston Villa playing the 8 role, box to box. And then I'll have Pascal Gross at Dortmund being my creative midfielder. And then at right wing, I'll start Michael Olise from Bayern Munich. Left wing, I'll start Martin Terrier from Leverkusen. And then striker, I'll have future Ballon d'Or winner Kili Mbappe at Real Madrid. And then on the bench, um, as a safety net in case my left back gets injured, I have Johan Mojica at Malarco, another flying left back. Um, Center mid in case Amadou Onana or João Neves get injured, or if we just need to see the game out, got Yusuf Fofana to fill that role in at AC Milan. Um, at right wing, if Michael Olise gets injured or needs a break, I have Yakuba Mente at Brighton. And then at left wing, I have Antonio Nusa at Leipzig, another creative machine. And then my last option off the bench can play anywhere in the front three, really, but primarily known for the striker role is Julian Alvarez at Atletico Madrid, coached by myself, Narvin Amatia.
Okay. I have my starting lineup. I have in goal, uh, Di Gregorio. My center back pairings will be Le Normand and Anton. My left wing back will be Angelino. My right wing back will be Mazarawi. I'll be playing a double pivot with McTominay and João right above him. And McTominay, I'm going to give him the freedom of kind of running around the field wherever he wants. He's got that engine to do so. Uh, Up top or right above them, I have João Felix playing that number 10 role. Um, and then I have up top Osimhen, uh, big man striker with the skills. And then out right, I have Chiesa, and out left, I have Pedro Neto. And then my bench, I think here I'll go. I have Danny Olmo. He'll come in for, or let me, so I have one Basaka. He'll come in for likely Mazarawi, or Angelino, whatever. And then I have Sorloth playing as a backup for Osimhen. And then I have Lanley playing backup for one of my center backs. And then David Neres playing for Chiesa. And then Danny Olmo, he'll come in for either João Felix or Pedro Neto. So I guess now we can just kind of discuss who do you think has the better team? And this team is also coached by myself. Um, I think this is a Champions League bound dynasty team here. Um,
You have a quality squad. I'd say mine's the Champions League winning squad. You might reach the final, but mine's taking it home.
See, see, your defense is very suspect in my opinion, and I think my team would tear them up. Greaves, yeah, he's looked decent, but him versus Osimhen, like there, that's not even a fair battle there. I think Pavlovich is a very good pick though to back up for Greece, but I don't know. I felt like there were so many other center backs he could have chosen from, and this was a huge reach.
Yeah, that one I just really wanted to give Jacob Greaves his flowers. Just the way he's been playing, I've been like just super amazed how good he's been.
And for those listening, Narvin, see, when you chose, I didn't say anything because I knew this would be a big pitfall for your team. When you said his name, I was like, no way. Narvin is a big fan of underdog stories, and he loves a guy who starts kind of from the bottom, these unknown guys that kind of rise to the top. And I think Greaves is that guy. And there's a lot of other center backs I feel like you could have chosen.
Yeah, if I was really gonna pick, I was between Nikola Milenkovic
Mm.
or Joachim Anderson, but Jacob Greaves just was he was just calling for me to pick him.
Yeah, I think him, that was a reach. And then Ian Matson too. Like he's quality, but I mean, I've seen him at Chelsea, and if you ask him just to play left back, I think he that's a liability there. But if he has that type of freedom where he can go forward, he won't be an issue. But against my team, where I have Chiesa bombing down at him, I think defensive wise, he's in big trouble, big trouble.
Yeah, I my defense is a bit of a weak point, but I do have, I think, a goalkeeper of the future for sure. Um, and then I'm expecting my squad to win at least. It'll be like a 7-6 type games.
Whoa, whoa,
my
whoa!
my attack force will make up for.
I don't know because I'm playing that double pivot, and I don't see Pascal Gross as being that magician that can create things because that's ultimately the guy that's going to have to be, you know, the Ozil of the team or De Bruyne of the team. And he's just not like at that level. And I think João Paulinho and McTominay playing the double pivot they're gonna block all those kind of holes. Um, and I don't know if Pascal Gross is gonna be the guy to break down the team.
You don't think
I,
so?
I mean, he's doing it
Uh,
for Dortmund, but I mean, look at him when he was in Brighton. He played a completely different position. Um, I think to all our Bundesliga fans listening, will probably be upset at what I'm about to say, but Premier League is a whole different level than the Bundesliga,
it
and
is. Yeah, it's the
I
best league in the world for sure.
I agree. So I think yeah, he's finding success right now in the Bundesliga in that role, but you know, it wasn't the same at Brighton. Um, so I just don't see your midfield. I think your two best players, Elise and Mbappe, yeah, they're scary up there, but Mbappe is a guy where if you're putting him at the striker position, kind of like Real Madrid is, I think, I mean, he's good there still, obviously, but I think his optimal position is out as a winger almost, is where he
Left
thrives.
wing. Yeah.
Yeah, I think, and cutting in, I think where he thrives, and in that striker role, I don't think he'll have the opportunity to do that on your team.
Yeah, I might just have to change tactics, man management on the game. Um, I will say if any of my center backs get injured, I will be in um quite a sticky situation, not having a
Big
backup
trouble.
center. Yeah, big trouble. Um, Same with my right back if he gets tired or injured, since Mojica is only a one-sided fullback. Like that one Basaka pick was quite smart, be
Hmm.
able to play both sides.
See, I think looking at your team, I probably would have put Julian Alvarez up top and put Mbappe out wide. I think that would be a
I wanted to do that, but then I didn't. I wouldn't really have a striker to come off the bench.
That's true. Yeah. So it sounds like you're high on Martin Terrier. Um,
Yeah, I
it,
think he's a pretty good player. He did pretty well. I mean, granted, it is. I don't want to downplay it, but Ligue 1 had a good year. Um, and he's fit into the Leverkusen team quite well. Um, both their opening games have been quite exciting, and he's kind of been playing a part in it. Um, as well as this Antonio Nusa kid. Uh, I was looking at some of his highlights and when he was at Club Bruges, and he seemed super exciting. I didn't realize he's Norwegian also, so that Norwegian team, I know they don't do well like in tournaments and stuff internationally, but they have a pretty decent squad. It's him, Holland, and Odegaard, and then Oscar Bob on the rise too now.
mhm.
Yeah, you
Yeah,
have really good picks with just options off the bench. You kind of have like a position for you had a you had one Basaka to cover that left or right, and then you had a center back as well.
yeah.
Um,
And then I have Daniel Olmo as an attacking threat, and he can, he's flexible, kind of like Joao Felix to play that 10 or out wide, and then David Neres can, primarily right mid, but he can also kind of come into left mid.
yeah,
So I don't know. I feel like I have more depth there for some super subs.
yeah. I would
Where,
say off the bench, you definitely have more of the advantage for sure.
yeah, I think it'll be interesting to see how Leverkusen plays Martin Terrier because I think he started last game, but I don't know if he'll be like that consistent starter.
Hmm.
Um, and I don't know if he just didn't look like the guy that's going to be able to get you a ton of goals. He does seem like he was like he fit in, like you said, with the team well, and like
Yeah,
the way he was moving around looked nice, and he has that balance for Leverkusen. But I don't know if he'll be able to like grab a ton of goals for the team. And I don't know if he'll
especially
be like a like a week in, week out
guaranteed.
starter. Yeah.
Yeah, especially with the way Leverkusen's set up, they have so many of those like utility players, I guess you can call it. Like Frimpong, he can play
Hmm.
the right wing back, but I mean, honestly, if you ask me, he's kind of like a right winger.
Hmm.
Uh, so just and then also on the other side, Grimaldo, he can play kind of like the left back or left wing. Um, and then Wirtz, he can kind of play all over pretty much anywhere. So yeah, they have a lot of options they can go off of.
Yeah, I feel pretty comfortable in my defensive positioning. Like I think my back four is solid. They're all starters and they have great experience and they've been proven winners. I think for Dortmund, Anton was a great center back signing. He's a certified baller and he's going to be, I think he plays like the right side of that three center back for Dortmund. But he came from Stuttgart and was the captain there. Um, so I think he's kind of a guy that went under the radar in the transfer window, but I think he's a great player for Dortmund.
I think the one player I could probably get exposed on is Angelino. He kind of sometimes can get a little too far ahead and lose track of his defensive duties.
Hmm. Yeah, but I think like coming down the middle, like with McTominay and João Polino, I'm gonna play him just holding like, hey, your main priority is to cover our back line, and
Yeah.
he's great at that, but he can also make those key passes forward.
Hmm.
He's not one of those that just pass it sideways or back. Like he looks for that
Penetrating
long,
pass. Yeah.
exactly. Um, and he's got that Portuguese connection with my lineup with João Felix and Pedro Neto as well.
Ah,
Some
you get
chemistry
the you
there.
get the green lights on the when you're building that ultimate team.
Yeah. So, and I know we said like, transfer the season for this year and stuff, but which is a little tricky with my lineup with João Felix and Pedro Neto and Chiesa. Like those are some big names and they've been proven as great players, but they might not be week in, week out starters this year as well. So I kind of took a risk there. Um, but if they were like, lined up against your squad, I think they would do well. But, if we're talking transfers this season, that might be a limiting factor for me where they don't get enough game time and get those stats. Um, but that doesn't mean they're not like great players. It's just, Chelsea has great depth and Liverpool, Chiesa, he's having to compete with Mo Salah and Diaz.
Yeah, that's a tough ask. Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah, I think it would be a tight matchup. I think we both definitely have strong midfield over there. It's funny because João Neves and João Polina, they're kind of built completely different. One's
Hmm.
just one's quite big in stature, the other one quite small, but João Neves, he's quite tenacious as well. For a player of his size, he really can cover that ground also.
Yeah, so for those listening, vote in our comments in this episode which team you think would win, which team is likely to transfer this season. Um, we wanted to do this game just because the transfer window did just close for a majority of the leagues, so it's kind of fun to kind of play this game, something that Narvin and I do a lot with some other leagues. So um, we'd love to hear kind of your teams as well that you guys were able to play along with us. And yeah, I think before we kind of close out, do you want to talk about kind of the games this weekend? Maybe just touch on specifically Chelsea and United.
Yeah, we can do that. Definitely have a lot to vent out on United. um, I
I'll
know
let you go
we.
first. I have a lot of comments as well about
Oh,
United.
geez. Okay, so this episode would be after the United lost to Liverpool. So we didn't cover the United loss to Brighton. That game, that was a pretty good matchup. Pretty good game throughout. We almost won it there with the goal that got called back because of the unfortunate touch on Xerxes, who was offsides. And then Brighton went out to get the winner. But overall, I didn't think we played that bad that game. We could have won it. Unfortunate that we gave it up so late. But that Liverpool game, man, Casemiro. I know I was texting you, but Casemiro, when I was saying it's Nihao Miro, this man, he's using like he's using retire United as like his retirement home right now, just collecting that check, being the highest paid player on the squad. Uh, it was just so frustrating. Even before we gave up the first goal, he was just losing the ball in the middle of the field. Um, there was one time where like he literally was getting pressured and he just panicked and then like just clears it out of bounds, but like almost stumbles. Like he just sometimes it looks like his body just doesn't work with what his brain wants him to do or something. It's so hard to explain, but it's so frustrating to watch him like ruin our
You,
flow
you know
all
it's
the
an issue
time.
when he's a Champions League, multi-Champions League winner and La Liga winner, and even Saudi doesn't want to take his wages. That's a huge issue.
Yeah, and I know we're stuck with him, I think, for another 2 years because I think it goes till 2027. So, um, yeah, that first goal, it was, I don't know what he was thinking. Just directly passes it right to Liverpool. They get the break. Um, Nice cross by Salah. I mean,
Hmm.
easy finish for Diaz. And then what is it? Not even 15 minutes later, Again, Casemiro just pushed off the ball so easily. I thought it was a foul at first glance, but then looking at the replay when they slowed it down, it's he barely gets touched.
Hmm.
Um, for a player of his stature, shouldn't be going down that easily.
And you say
Um,
player of his stature, but just so those that are listening, I've always thought he was one of the most overrated players, being next to Cruz and um Modric. And I've always had this nickname for him, Trashimiro, and it's like really playing out right now. But I think it's really sad to see like him just being exposed right now, especially with Bruno, great player, but like that's not his responsibility. Like you don't want
yeah.
him back there. You want him like where he's most dangerous. You
Mm-hmm.
don't want his talents to go to waste. And so you have him, but then you also have Mainu who, unlike Kroos and Modric, like he does like to carry the ball a little more forward, and he's a little more forward, and maybe that's what Ten Hag wants out of him. But it just seems like that's where he's most comfortable. I think if he were to be the only holding mid, like I think he would do a good job over Casemiro, but Casemiro is just kind of like in an island there, and so like
Yeah.
now it's like he's really being exposed, and like that
Mm-hmm.
spotlight's really on him now.
And at Madrid, I mean, I was never a huge fan of his game, but at Madrid, he was never this bad. Granted, he had Modric and Kroos to mask his flaws, but I
Hmm.
mean, Real Madrid, he was primarily used to just cover the ground defensively. Um, and now he doesn't really even have the legs. And then what we kind of have him, we're almost relying on him to, since we're playing out the back, we want him to play out that first phase. He was never really known for his ball playing abilities. I mean, that was always Cruz's role. And
Hmm.
so now that added to it is just kind of exposing more of his flaws.
But
Being
I
a
feel like these flaws like were always in him. It just was
mhm,
masked up. That's why I get frustrated when people like talk about Casemiro like he's this big stature of a guy. Like I
yeah.
don't think so. Like he never had that. I think it's just he was on the Real Madrid team. Any player on that Real Madrid team would be considered like a big name player, but like that
Mhm.
squad just had a few really, really generational guys that we'll never see. Ronaldo, Bale, Benzema, Modric, Cruz. I think those
Yeah.
guys carried, masked everyone else.
Mhm.
And so we think, oh, these guys are, like these massive and like you're paying Casemiro 400,000 when he
Yeah.
was probably worth half of that.
And I think his first season, very first season at United, he was actually quite good. In that just defensive role of covering the ground for us. I mean, there were arguments that he was up there as the second or third best defensive midfielder in the league. So, I mean, the how quick his downfall has been is a bit sad to see, but I think it's something that shouldn't come as a surprise. It's just
Hmm.
quite sad to see. So I I know I let you know when the game was going on. I was like, I'm solely putting this loss on Casemiro just because those are two goals Liverpool got off from just basic mistakes. Um but I was disappointed because after that second goal, the whole team just looked deflated. And I know it was a very cheap giveaway, second cheap giveaway to give up a second goal, but I didn't like the what the players were showing. They just all seemed flat, deflated. Like they just knew that we already lost the game. Like I wanted to just at least even if we lost, just see some fight. I think the only players that could have come off that game with their heads held high was probably Dallo and Mazarawi. They were, I think, the only ones kind of putting a shift in. Um,
And Mazarawi, although like Diaz was on like, scored twice on that side, I thought he was incredible too.
yeah, he's fitting really well. And so just my last feel on this United squad is I stayed off any social media just because I knew what was coming. I knew it was going to be all media kind of coming after Ten Hag. And I'm still backing him until the end. I think he hasn't really showed what he's capable of in his managerial style, but I think just some of the players we have are just not working to fit his style. And I don't think this loss is I don't think it should be pinpointed on him, even though after the season we had last year, I know every loss is there's just gonna be eyes on him. Um, but I don't think it'd be fair to kind of pin the blame on him for this loss.
Yeah, my takeaway after that game, and then especially after Ten Hag's post-game conference, just the more I'm losing respect for him. Just like yeah, you say he doesn't have the players right, but I think he's had the support from the board and CEO. Like even I think yesterday or today, they put out a statement saying Ten Hag's got their full support. So he's had that backing from everyone to do what he wants, and he's had time now to kind of get the players he needs. And the big issue here and concern, I think, is that United, you guys have not been improving under him. I think you guys have actually been going the opposite way. And with a good manager, you wouldn't see that. So I think you guys are trending the wrong way. And I think that's very concerning. A lot of top managers, yeah, you may start off bad for a year and a half, but you can see slight improvements. I don't see any with United, and I think that's very concerning. And again, like his tactics are just like so questionable at times. Like he knows the players he has and he needs to be able to adapt and play to their strengths, but he's having his fullbacks just push bomb forward and like the way you guys are playing too, like you have one of the greatest midfielders right now in the world in Bruno and Brighton game and even today, or I'm sorry, Brighton game and versus Liverpool, he was almost kind of lost. Like you guys weren't even playing through him. You guys are trying to launch balls over the top to Garnacho and Rashford. Like that's not even, I don't know, that just doesn't make sense. Like how that works. Like it looks like Onana's like you know, your main guy that's gonna get your assists this year. And I just don't feel like that's a tactic that should be working with the squad you guys have. And I don't know, even Rashford, like as a manager, you should see that he's not. And I do get the point that, as fans, we don't get to see day to day what's happening behind the scenes. Maybe at practice, Rashford looks amazing, but at the end of the day, full stop, what happens during the games is what matters. And he just hasn't been performing. I think Garnacho, um, and Ahmad are both, they've shown that they're
Yeah, I think
better.
Amad Diallo getting him being left out was a bit that was a bit unfair considering he
Mhm.
was probably one of our top performers first two games.
And I think Garnacho's also been playing better than Rashford. But I mean, again, we don't see what happens in practice, but we see what happens in the games. That's what matters. And those two guys should be starting over Rashford, and they're not. And that's a huge concern. That he's, kind of just sticking to these guys and just trying the same things, even though it's not working. Again, with Casemiro, like he's been just sticking with him and just doesn't make sense. Like, why not try something different? Like, I get it if you're losing, but you try new things. But he's just trying the same old thing. It's not working. Um, and I think I lost some respect for him after the press conference for not taking any responsibility and kind of deflecting uh, in a lot of his responses. And I loved what Ollie said, so I wrote this down, and I have what he said. Um, but Ollie said, in the league position, you see if there's any progress for me. That's always the bread and butter. any cup competition can give you a trophy, but sometimes it's more of an ego thing for managers and clubs that we finally won something. So that's going to what Ten Hag said to one of the reporters saying, uh, are you sure coaching's a problem? Are you sure? I don't think so. Uh, or we would not have won trophies like we did twice. So, and Ollie's just saying, you can't hang your hat on winning two of these small little cups. Um,
FA Cup ain't that small.
okay, yeah, but I mean, they played City where City had nothing really to play for and coming off some tired legs, Champions League, and that's some meaningful games to play. You guys also had a couple easy run-ins, and that really saved his job. But again, y- you can get by with not being as consistent in those cups, and also some lucky draws where other teams may be playing tougher opponents.
I,
Um,
th I think what also I think what hurts Ten Hag is I think honestly that very first season was a bit of an overachievement based on the squad we had getting the Carabao Cup. Yeah, it's not the biggest tournaments, but winning that cup and then finishing top three, I think that was a bit of an overachievement and then standards were held that high for him. Whereas I think this team's always just kind of been eating in the like a work of progress at the moment. Um, so I think just overachieving kind of hurt him a bit, being held to that standard. Um, Whereas I don't think we're a title challenging team yet. Um, and I think the press conferences, he just has to make that claim just because he's getting. I don't know if someone asked me and was like trying to discredit my achievements and accolades, I would take it a bit personal too, just and want to like reinsure like, hey, I've accomplished these things. Um, I don't know. Like I would take a bit of offense if someone was questioning my accolades and what I've achieved. Wouldn't you say like I guess that's what his approach was to those press conferences were?
yeah, but it was directly after this loss talking about the game, and he was trying to skirt around and ex make an excuse for this performance and he didn't really own up to it. And he also made excuses for Casemiro
But
and you can't throw yeah, like I know you said you can't throw your players under the bus, but you honestly just need to call them out and that's what a lot of the top managers do. Jose did that all the time, Conte did that all the time. Um,
then I
even I
feel
mean
like with
Sir
those
Alex
type of
Ferguson did that.
yeah, I don't know if yeah.
And I think the first season, yeah, to your point, that's kind of like the standard set after achieving top three. But I mean, think about it. It's Manchester United. That should be the goal to make Champions League every year. It's not to, finish top eight or whatever. It should be not even top three. It should be trying to win the title, given you're Manchester United. And also the first year, I mean, we can't forget, yeah, Ronaldo when he was back, it obviously wasn't the same as Ronaldo in his younger days, but I mean, think about all the big games, like close games where you guys pulled a lot of points out of nowhere and look at who was that contributor. Ronaldo had a ton of important, like, yeah, he wasn't scoring 30 plus goals, but he had a ton of important goals and grabbed a lot of points himself for the team. I thought he was a big difference maker that year.
Yeah, that first year, yeah, he still had a good year, but I think he's had quite a lot of headaches as well as a manager. I mean, first year, that whole situation with Ronaldo, I mean, there were reports saying it was just more so the environment in the locker room with Ronaldo there. I think it was just type of players we had just not being professional enough, but using Ronaldo as like the scapegoat. So the Ronaldo headache first season, second season of his, he had the injury issues, which I know every team has injuries, but we certainly had a lot of key injuries that play into factor. Um, and then the whole Jay and Sancho headache that was caused. Um, so I th- I don't know. I think a lot of we should give it at least till December or at least that winter to kind of let him turn this around. I mean, it's still very early in the season.
Oh
Just
yeah, for sure.
just unfortunate that is a big loss at home versus a Liverpool. Um, but I think we know that might have been Casemiro's last start as a United player.
Oh yeah, especially him coming off at half. I think that was a statement.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I think if United doesn't somehow turn this around and trend up, I think I had Gary O'Neill first sacked, but I think Ten Hag is very close, even though he just got the full backing from the board and CEO. Um,
And
yeah,
I've
and
been really happy with Ineos. They've made just incredible deals and signings this offseason. It's very unlike United,
mhm.
where we always wait till last minute, overpay for a aging player. But now this window, just complete different, just going after young potential stars, getting a good fee. So I think the board has done really well compared to the past. All right, so that was my whole thoughts and rant on United. Hopefully, season kind of goes up from here. Looking forward to Ugarte coming in, but now we'll move on to the Chelsea versus Palace game. I'll let you have your spiel.
Yeah, I think before jumping into that game, maybe we can go back one more weekend. We didn't get to discuss Chelsea against Wolves. Um, I thought we looked good throughout the game. We gave up in the first half. I thought we were a little too open defensively. But I think that's coming out in the second half and looking the way we did, where I haven't seen us play that well in I don't even know how many years, but that might have been the best we've looked. And I think that's a hallmark of good coaching is when you are able to come out after a halftime and completely switch the script there. And I'm really excited for what we're building. And I think that Wolves game was a prime example of that. Um, and then going into the Palace game, I know same story there goes with coaching. Um, I think Glasner, I gave him a shout out as, manager of the season. I think we said Pep, but just when we had a shout out, Glasner was someone that we both were talking about where sometimes he just reminds me like a Jose Mourinho type coach where he's super organized defensively. And when Palace was playing that low block, they looked kind of unbreakable. And we have so many creative players. I think we could have brought on João Felix earlier, um, some other guys just to change it up. I think someone like Sancho would have been nice that game, but I think there has to be a huge shout out to Glasner because first half I thought we dominated Palace. Um, I think Henderson made some amazing saves that kept Palace in the game, potentially man of the match there. But
United
I think,
product.
yeah, I think Palace came into the second half where it could have honestly gone either way, second half. I think we were still slightly the better team and were unlucky to just come away with a point. But shout out to Glasner because I think he organized the team very well. Um, he even mentioned in his post-game interview where he was showing, I forget exactly what, but it was cool to hear like him talking about him showing first half highlight clips already, and what changes he wanted to make. And you could see that in the pitch where we weren't just completely out dominating uh Palace, and they had a couple of chances, and unfortunately my boy as a crazy goal.
Came back to haunt you.
Yeah, I know. I needed him to be quiet that day, but he scored a banger,
To be
quality
fair, he
finish.
was relatively quiet that first half.
Yeah, and I think that just
Um,
goes back to we were completely dominating first half. We should have grabbed a few goals, and I think our team, the way we were looking, like at times Madueke was kind of, playing around with them and kind of showboating in a sense. And um, I think we were confident, especially coming after the Wolves game. It just seemed like we were comfortable against Palace, and we were just confident that this was going to be another type of breeze game. And then second half was just a completely different story. And again, I think it comes back to coaching. He made some great adjustments.
Were
And he
you
he he keeps Palace so organized. Kind of reminds me of Mourinho, but then they're able to grab some goals out of nowhere, some
were
quality
you
goals.
happy with the change in Chelsea putting Palmer at that 10 and then starting Madueke and um who was it out there on the left? Pedro Neto?
Yeah, and then Mudryk came in later, but yeah, I think I wouldn't mind. I mean, again, we have so many options, but what I do not want to see is Enzo Fernandez ever playing that 10 role. Even Lavia when he comes back. We talked about this in the first podcast, but it has to be Caicedo has to be
He's
he has to be in
solidified.
there. Yep.
Yeah.
So then it's just a matter of the double pivot. Do you want him and Lavia or him and Enzo? But the three of them cannot play together. And then Palmer, if he wants to play on the right, I think he's good there or at the 10. I think João Felix, he's a guy that's going to be a huge difference maker. And surprisingly, in Kunku, I don't know why he's not getting minutes. It's a
Yeah, he
shocker.
came on super late against
Yeah, he played
Palace.
like 5 minutes, I think. Wolves, he came on very late. I'm
Because I
not
was gonna, I
sure.
was worried that I was worried for Nicholas Jackson this year if he would get that starting role with Nkunku back healthy.
Yeah, because Nkuku can play kind of out wide, but he can also play the 10 forward. He's flexible, would play anywhere, and he's not getting minutes. But yeah, shout out to my boy Nicholas Jackson.
Jackson.
Scored another goal. I think he's at 2 goals now, but I think he could be at 3 or 4 already. But I think he's getting off to a good start.
Definitely need that confidence boost.
Yeah, I think he's gonna be. I still think he's gonna be the best forward we've ever had at the end of the day.
It's a
I know he's,
bold claim.
but yeah, mark my word, Super Subs podcast, we made this claim. He'll be the best forward that Chelsea's ever had.
I didn't make the claim. Disclaimer. Harish did.
Yeah, disclaimer, I did. I can see it. The way he dribbles, his hold up play, link up play, the runs he makes, I think. I mean, the most important thing is grabbing goals as a forward. Obviously, he's nowhere close to Haaland's finishing abilities, but if he can get to what half of, I think a lot of Jackson's game is better than Haaland's, but Haaland, man, his goal scoring ability, if Jackson can get, 30% of that, it will be amazing.
Yeah, Holland is just a different animal. Back to back weeks with hat tricks.
Oh yeah.
Insane.
I think it goes again. I don't know if he's, you know, got all the attributes to be considered like the best player in the world, just because there's a lot of things he can't do that a lot of other forwards can do.
Mhm.
Um, but like from a goal scoring ability, I don't think anyone would argue he's not the best.
Yeah. I think City's just the perfect team for him since he doesn't need to really be involved in link up play as much just because he has so many players around him that just can provide with quality assists. The craziest stat that I heard though this weekend is because of Holland's hat trick, he has more goals himself this year than any of the teams have goals scored this year.
Oh wow. Yeah. I guess Liverpool,
I think they have
um,
six
I think they
or
have 7. I guess they're tied with Holland though,
mhm.
but no one has more. Okay, wow. Yeah, again, I mean, looking at City, he was a little more involved this past week in link up plays. against West Ham. I was surprised Suchek didn't start. I always feel like he's like a fill-in for West Ham.
Yeah, it looks like he's definitely a huge Lopetegui's a huge fan that Guido Rodriguez player. He's
Hmm.
another big physical presence for West Ham.
Yeah.
Did you also want to just touch up on the Tottenham game versus who did Tottenham play? I'm blanking now. Uh
Oh,
Tottenham Newcastle.
Newcastle game. Yeah, even Tottenham. We talked about the Leicester game they had.
Hmm.
But yeah, the Newcastle game. Isak, he had a he wasted a couple of chances. I thought he could have put the game to bed. But I'm glad he finally got on the score sheet. What did
Yeah,
you
and
think
then
about the game?
I thought honestly Tottenham were kind of on the front foot. And Newcastle looked like they could have conceded at any moment. But then I feel like that's going to be the downfall of Tottenham. I think we saw glimpses of it last year. Is their manager and she's so stubborn on the his style of play, which is a bit risky. And when you don't have a player like Mickey Van de Ven available, who you can rely like on his pace, that back line it can get exposed, especially with the lethal attack like Newcastle.
Yeah, even like Pedro Porro, I mean, he's a great player, but Ange gives him so much freedom, and he was looking vulnerable defensively. And that's how they grabbed their goal through Harvey Barnes on that side. Yeah, I think Tottenham, they're so fun to watch as a neutral, because they're going to be entertaining, pushing forward, letting players have their freedom, but it's a high risk type of game. And I think Ange is at fault at times where Tottenham, like you said, were dominating, but Ange should have been the one to kind of give them a little more balance and
Mhm.
even asking his back line to kind of drop off a bit. Van de Ven's not there.
Yeah. I think definitely Tottenham fans when they watch Tottenham play, they have a heart attack at least once a game.
Oh yeah. I mean, even versus Leicester, they should have won that game.
Yeah, I don't know how yeah. Um, there's another big game in the weekend. Arsenal not getting the full 3 points. Um, I think the obvious game changer of that game was the Rice red card for the second yellow. So I won't get too much into the game just because Arsenal were kind of dominating until the red card. So what did you make about that situation? Do you think? Because I know if you stop a quick free kick from happening, it's usually an automatic
Mhm.
yellow. But do you think it's harsh? Like, yeah, it's part of the law of the game, but like, should the referee just kind of let it go? Or
I was on the fence about it just because, I mean, a foul is a foul, like no matter what, but then it's also like, man, that's your second yellow. And I think the Palace game was a perfect example where Hughes got a yellow pretty early against us, and then he had a ton of fouls where he should have gotten a second yellow, but did not. And I
Glasner subbed him off immediately after that.
immediately, yeah. So I think similar like situation where the refs, I guess it was up to their discretion. I'm not mad about Rice getting a second yellow because I mean ultimately he did stop a quick free kick from being taken.
Because it was funny. The commentators were like, "Uh-oh, Veltman's in trouble," because they thought Veltman was going to get the yellow for kind of kicking
Hmm.
at Rice, but then it was Rice preventing that free kick.
Yeah, what do you think about it?
Yes, I think it's a yellow. Just we see that happen all the time. Players getting their first yellow of the game when they stop a free kick happening quickly. So I think it was a fair decision.
And it just wasn't smart by Rice there. You have to know that you're already on a yellow.
Yeah, I don't know. I think just to give him the benefit of the doubt, I think he might have just forgotten or something. But yeah,
Mhm.
it's super silly.
I think Arsenal, again, we talked about it the first episode, but their defense is good and they bought some players that are coming in that will shore up that defense, but attacking wise. I don't know where their goals might come from at times.
Yeah, because Martinelli still hasn't really like, hit the ground running yet.
Yeah, and potential rumors that Trossard's um going to Saudi. There's a few teams
Oh,
interested in
really? That
him.
would be a big loss. He always makes an impact off the bench for sure.
Oh yeah. I just don't, maybe Sterling can add
Mhm.
some energy and goals, but
Speaking
I,
of
I worry about
defenses,
that for them.
speaking of defenses though, that Southampton game, my
hmm
that was shambolic.
I feel bad for Rams though. I don't think it was his fault, any of them, but
I don't think so either. I don't
I
know.
don't-
Just playing out the back, getting caught pretty much all three times was
mhm.
he might be the first manager sacked if that keeps happening. But
Yeah, I don't know who Russell Martin thinks he is. I think if Enzo Maresca was still at Leicester, Leicester would be making those same mistakes.
yeah, I
Enzo
think
loves
so.
playing out of the back.
hmm But yeah, this weekend is international break. I'm not sure if there's any good matchups that are going to be happening this weekend. But next weekend we got Southampton. I mean, the following weekend we have Southampton. Who do you guys have?
We have Bournemouth
Ooh, tricky.
on Saturday. And then I think that Sunday's Tottenham Arsenal.
Oh, big one.
So that's a big one there for the Premier League. And then are you guys at Old Trafford or
Yep, it's another home game.
home game?
Yep.
Okay. And then I'm just looking at the schedule here. If there's any other potentially interesting games, I think maybe Atalanta, Fiorentina. Fiorentina's they've had three draws in a row now.
hmm
They've been ba able to pull out some quality performances,
hmm
and I think Atalanta is a team to watch to see how they can bounce back with a lot of players, no longer with them.
Yeah, they got annihilated by Inter Milan, like
hmm
4-0. Yeah.
And then, yeah, to your point, international break this week. Um, so maybe we can next episode we may touch on some of those games. U UEFA nations, France and Italy play. Um, Wales, Turkey play. Um, Portugal, Croatia, Denmark, Switzerland. Uh, what other games are happening? I think those are some of the big ones in Europe. Germany, Hungary as well. Uh, Ireland, England. So some big games in Europe in terms of World Cup qualifying. We have Brazil, Ecuador, Uruguay, Paraguay. So I think we have some fun games to follow and kind of talk about next week.
So thank you all for tuning in and listening to the third episode of Super Subs. Remember to leave a comment on who you think had the better team of the draft, and also feel free to leave a comment on your team that you guys created. And until next time, peace out.